challenges going on, but I'm really excited to be a part of what is in store for us in the future.
You know, it's so exciting, and what you just said is so true. There's so much history here in Western Pennsylvania. I mean, I would refer to this as like the crucible of really modern EMS. I mean, if you look back in the 70s, when really the national system was formed, it was through collaboration of many people right here in your backyard that collaborated with people across the nation that developed things like the national standard curriculum, the design of the modern ambulance, and that really laid the foundation for where we're at today, those visionaries.
Yeah, we talk about the history of, you talked about Peter Safford in your presentation, but with Nancy Caroline. Yesterday, we paid homage to Dr. Ron Stewart, and who, if we look back, why many of us got into this, got interested, was the show Emergency. and Dr. Stewart was the medical director for that in Los Angeles way back in 1972 or early 70s when we were just small lads. It's just amazing. And that's one thing I think about is, how do we get people in to EMS like we were brought in? And, is that Chicago Fire or, what show out there?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. But maybe it's the AI, and let's talk a little bit about what you see that future to hold.
Well, absolutely. I think, right now we have this amazing opportunity to embrace artificial intelligence and technology, and we really have the opportunity to bring that into this profession. And I think that as a profession, when we truly embrace what technology holds, it's going to be a new recruitment and retention tool for our profession that we haven't had the likes of for many, many decades. And I think it's going to attract new people into the profession. Those who are in it, I think that we can leverage technology to reduce some of the causes for attrition and the burnout and the workload. I think we're going to be able to improve patient outcomes and really make our jobs better. So that's exciting.
So do you think AI, ChatGPT, is going to be more than just cleaning up my resume or creating a meme that I can share with my friends?
I think it really is. And, ChatGPT is one part of it. But, I think if we zoom out to the whole technology spectrum of, artificial intelligence and technology and machine learning, it's going to, well, I'll tell you what I envision. I think it's going to be like having that good angel on your shoulder, So you're a paramedic out there, and you're on this technology that's looking over your shoulder that is whispering to you. And it's going to be telling you as the EMT and paramedic, here's your differential diagnoses. I'm evaluating the patient's vital signs in the microsecond, and I'm tracking and I'm trending, I'm doing the analytics, and this is the list of things that's going on. This is your best protocol to follow. This is your best treatment algorithm. And by the way, in the confusion, the med you just grabbed and I saw through my AI camera is not the med you intended. Stop, put that away, and I'm going to be like, oh, wow, you're right. So I think it's going to reduce errors, it's going to improve our diagnostics, and it's going to make our jobs easier and more efficient.
And I think one of the biggest applauds you got this morning when you talked about EPCRs, rating trip sheets, and there's one thing that EMS practitioners just totally don't look forward to, myself included. I still get a chance to work out in the streets a few times a month, is sitting down in front of that computer or on that iPad and checking the boxes and writing everything. And I think that when we talk about recruitment and retention, I think that will be our next good recruiting tool. It is how we're going to do documentation.
A funny story, and I didn't tell this in the keynote, but if you go back 25 plus years, I was a medic, and like many medics, you had people that you would run on more than once, and there's this particular lady, and I bet she was on 50 meds. I ran on her every week, and it was paper documentation, and my handwriting was terrible. So I remember it would take me 2 to 3 hours to write the hand report in triplicate, on 24 inches of carbon paper. It was because of that I sat down with some friends and we designed an electronic system. And that became the precursor of the first EPCR. So we solved a problem back then. And you fast forward today, and we have electronic, but we have new problems. And I think that we're really on the edge of having new technology solves the problem of today, just like we solved it 25 years ago. And that's going to be through us not having to really write a report. We're going to have technology that's observing what we're doing. It's going to create the report. We're going to look at it as ethical clinicians and make sure it's accurate. But the days of me writing down and said, Medic 51 responded to, no, those days are over, and they should have been over years ago.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I love to hear that. And you talk about machine learning, and we know in Pittsburgh, once again, kind of a hotbed where some research is going on. We know that through a Department of Defense contract, one of our local agencies, they are doing that. They are managing trauma patients by AI and the computer, and the computer isn't wrong. But the biggest question, and I think you heard it already today, how do we afford it? How CMS come out and said we're $9.3 billion underfunded for EMS.
Yep.
So technology isn't cheap.
No.
What's our answer there?
Boy, I wish I had a simple answer. I don't. But as we talked about in the presentation, I go back to the late 1960s when Dr. Saffer from this area was looking at the profession of EMS that hadn't even been officially created. And he said, we need to develop a computerized run report using computers that only NASA had and no local agency could ever afford. We need to have a standardized run report when there wasn't even a standard for EMT training yet, and paramedics wouldn't be really officially created for another 7 years. He envisioned this. And I think that's what we need to take away today. I don't know how we're going to fund it, but what I do know is we need to have a unified vision. We need to embrace the technology that's in front of us. We need to collectively pull together and say, this is where we need to go. This is going to make our profession better, and we need to embrace that and take micro steps along the way. Through that, technology is going to become cheaper, opportunities going to come around, and I guarantee you, the payers will start looking and saying, well, wait a second, I know we have a $9 billion deficit here, but maybe through technology, we can change that from a $9 billion deficit to a $2 billion deficit, or maybe even one day break even, and it's going to have to, involve both sides of the equation.
Yeah.
But I think that, that's probably where the future will be.
Yeah. And I think another great point, Don, is that technology is going to be great. It's going to create a safer environment for us, our patients, but technology doesn't bring empathy, compassion, and caring. So providers, we're not going away. Just our roles are going to change, and hopefully our roles become a little bit easier, but we still need to be there to hold our patient's hand, to provide compassion and caring.
And that's so key. I mean, that's why even in the keynote, at the end, really brought it back to that. There are things that technology and AI is going to do better than what I can ever be as a paramedic. But as you said, showing that compassion, that empathy, being there, those are things that are uniquely human. And as we train the next generation of EMS providers, I feel like we've drifted away from that a little bit. We really have to go back and capture, really empathy, holding the hand of your patient, communicating with your patient. Those things are important. We have to get back to that. And I think technology is going to allow us to do so.
Absolutely. Well, once again, Donnie, we really appreciate you coming to EMS Update, talking about AI. I think the future is bright. It's exciting for the most of us, and I look forward to that. Now, we have you back again. If AI takes over, maybe you and I aren't sitting here next year. Maybe AI is going to do all these interviews.
You have an AI bot for me.
AI bot, but once again, really appreciate your keynote presentation. We look forward to your information. And if folks want to reach out to you, how can they find you?
Yeah, well, I'm on LinkedIn. Don Woodyard is the way you can find me on LinkedIn. But I do have a website, ems-history.com, and that has all the history resources, all the primary documents. And then in that, if you click the technology button, it's going to take you to ems-ai.com, and that has all the position papers I talked about. It has all the research on AI and documents. So those are the ways you can get a hold of me. LinkedIn, go through the website, and I would love to connect with anyone, push the conversation forward. And as Arthur Clarke said, I hope that I sounded a little bit crazy, because if so, maybe we're seeing the future of what it could be.
That's great. I'm excited. I'm excited you came here today. Once again, signing off from EMS Update 2025, Brian Shaw with Donnie Woodyard. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.